each of our speakers. Then we'll have a Q&A. Then at the end, we'll open it up for one-on-ones. Finally, we'll have a media tour following at the end of one-on-one interviews. Let me introduce today's lineup. First, the Director of Athletics at Tulane University, Rick Dickson. Our new Tulane President, Mike Fix. And our guest from the American Athletic Conference, the Commissioner, Mike Aresco. And that's my pleasure to introduce the Director of Athletics for Tulane University, Rick Dickson.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is our version of acclimating everyone for outdoor football. So hopefully everybody's got a cold cup of water, but it's our great pleasure to have you here today. Especially excited to introduce to you our Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco, and his lovely wife, Sharon. Nice to have you here in New Orleans with us. Today really signifies a new beginning for our conference that just experienced a year of unparalleled success. In its first year in existence, this conference first won a BCS Bowl over the Big 12 championships in the Fiesta Bowls in Central Florida, and then topped that off with winning first the men's basketball championship with UConn, and a day later the women's basketball championship with UConn. No other conference in the country achieved these things this past year. This is a day that all of our student athletes, our coaches, our staff have been looking forward to, and our fans as well. Tulane is back on a big stage. This reflects and has symbolized and reflects Tulane's renewed commitment to athletics at the highest level. Athletics that are hosted in a vibrant and successful conference, the American Athletic Conference. And now, as we begin our journey into our new partnership with the American Athletic Conference in our new Yulman Stadium, it's my pleasure to introduce our new leader, President Mike Fitz.
Rick, thank you. I can't tell you how excited I am to be standing here right now. This is really a special moment, obviously for me, but more importantly for all of Tulane and Tulane sports over the years. And as Rick said, it's a beginning on so many different levels. This extraordinary stadium, which you look out behind me, is going to change the tenor of sports here, the vibrancy of the campus, and we're all looking forward to Yulman Stadium opening in the next few weeks. Obviously, we have a number of different events, a new football season, a new academic year starting, and I sort of say we have a new president, except I've been here for 40 days, so I don't feel very new at this moment in time. But the real excitement, of course, is the American Athletic Conference. It's an exceptional conference. It will provide us at Tulane a new and greater competition, a better platform, and most importantly, it will be so important for our student athletes in providing opportunities for them. Obviously, Tulane, we're not newcomers to sports at all. We've had a great sport program, even though we're newcomers to the American. But this is a university that over the years has achieved incredible results on the field, in the classroom, and in the community, and we look forward to extending that through this new stadium. Commissioner Mike Aresco is here. It's extremely exciting to be able to host him, and I know he knows we'll bring a new level of prestige and dedication and excellence to the league. Of course, we'll also do some things that you can only do in New Orleans. We'll bring great food at the stadium, and we're looking forward to exceptional before and after game events. So in all, what attracted me to Tulane is it's a great school academically, and it's a great school athletically. We know the balance. We know how important it is in educating the whole of students and bringing the campus together. And I look forward to working with Mike Aresco over the coming years in developing this relationship. I was thinking of how to encapsulate it. I kept thinking of Humphrey Bogart, and I wondered if I could play on his great line. This really is the beginning of a wonderful relationship going forward. So I'm happy to be at Tulane, and I'm very happy to be here for the launching of this relationship with the American. Thank you all.
Okay, now I get to introduce someone that you can look around the country in college athletics. I don't think anyone's had a first year on the job like Mike Aresco. You know, shortly after, just a matter of weeks, months after taking the job, you begin to see things start to shake and crumble around him a bit. But to pull things together, show the leadership that he has, was remarkable. I would call him the MVP of 2013 and 14 across the country. I don't think any conference commissioner ever was faced with immediately losing their conference, and in turn took that challenge and turned it into the opportunity that he has, and then to have the first year that his conference did, that our conference did, is remarkable. Mike's someone that over the last 25 plus years of my career that I can truly call a friend. Most of you know Mike was on the television side of our industry, and when he was recruited to take this challenge, I don't think even he knew exactly how big of a challenge that would become. But even not to my surprise, but really to my admiration of how he stepped up and performed, pulled this league together, and has come through the way we have, and the start that we're off to. And he'll tell you that there's kind of a hidden secret in all this, and it soon won't be much of a secret. So Tulaneans around the country, be ready for what's in store. Nearly every Tulane athletic event, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, Olympic sports, are going to be on a platform and a stage that we've never been, never in our history. Even when we were part of high-profile conferences in the past, that we have this kind of exposure that Tulane, not only Tulane athletics, but Tulane, the university, and New Orleans will receive going forward. And that's a tribute and a credit to Mike and the job that he did negotiating with ESPN and representing the conference the way he has. I recall when a couple years ago, when I was doing my weekly checklist of that athletic directors do with things going on around the country, with expansion and so forth going on, and I had Mike on my list to touch base with. And things were beginning to tremble a little bit around the country, and I noticed that there was reportedly some movement in this conference about to happen. And I called Mike, and after exchanging pleasantries, I said, so Mike, we've got an interest in sitting down and talking with you about Tulane and your conference. And I remember two things. The first one was silence, and then the second one after that was curiosity. He wanted to know more. He obviously knew from afar what we'd been through. He wanted to know where we were in terms of our recovery, and wanted to know what was in store for us. And that turned into a long conversation. At the end of that conversation, Mike said, "Rick, I think you've got a story to tell, and I'll be very delighted and happy to champion that story and you being able to tell it." And it's the reason we're here today. So join with me in welcoming the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Mike Aresco.
Thank you, Rick, for that extraordinarily generous introduction. Rick and I have been, as he mentioned, friends for 25 years, possibly even more. And he's done a wonderful job for Tulane. And if it weren't for Rick and his efforts, again, I'm really not sure Tulane would be in the American Athletic Conference today. I'm extremely excited to be here in New Orleans and here at beautiful Yulman Stadium to welcome Tulane into the conference. And I'm delighted to be with President Fitz, obviously Rick, and New Orleans dignitaries and members of the Tulane coaching and administrative ranks, as well as all of you, including our friends in the media. And we have James Carville here, who is now a faculty member at Tulane. And I said to James, even though he'd been at the White House, he's finally reached the pinnacle. He's now at Tulane, and he's on the faculty. President Fitz, whom I've gotten to know a bit, is going to be a great leader for this university. He has a remarkable background and personal qualities that will take Tulane to new heights. And these are wonderful days for the university. This is a distinguished university with a proud history. It's making its mark in athletic competition and showing the world what resolve and fortitude and intelligent planning and execution can accomplish. Katrina was a devastating blow. The university in this great city did not flinch. They set out to rebuild. The fruits of that effort surround us today, as they do in other parts of the city. We're thrilled, as I said, to have Tulane in our conference. We're now a strong, stable, nationally admired conference. We had an incredible inaugural year, to which Rick alluded, truly a storybook year. I've said it more than once, and I'll say it again. We've heard a lot about the Power Five and the power conferences. We are a power conference. Pure and simple, that's what we are. Our student athletes demonstrated that power as they won national championships in men's and women's basketball, a BCS bowl game against the Big 12 champion, and as a conference, they competed extraordinarily well at the highest levels in all sports. We had a finalist in the NIT. We won the women's NIT. We had a team in the College World Series. Truly, when I look up at the podium and I see the Fiesta Bowl winners and I see the national championship teams in basketball, I say they're power teams, they're power individuals, and there's no way I want my student athletes not to feel that way, and they will. Tulane will enhance our conference's national profile and competitive strength. As you all know, this is one of the finest educational institutions in the country. It will be joining a distinguished group of outstanding smaller private universities, important state universities, and beginning in 2015, the United States Naval Academy, and we're thrilled, obviously, to have the Naval Academy joining us. As I mentioned, you have outstanding leadership in Mike Fitz, and the athletic department is in wonderful hands with Rick Dickson and his record of accomplishment. I also want to recognize and thank Scott Cowan for his devoted and distinguished service to Tulane and to college athletics, and for his role in bringing Tulane into the conference and supporting our efforts to establish a strong foundation. As I mentioned earlier, Tulane and our league have a very bright future. We know we face challenges. You see them all around us, and I know there'll be questions about the new NCAA governance redesign, but it's not threatening us. We're going to be fine. Whether it's navigating that structure, whether it's building our brands, or whether it's resisting the efforts that we see to destroy the collegiate model, I am optimistic and confident that we're going to meet all of these challenges, that we're going to build a prosperous and enduring model for our student athletes. Because in the end, and with all the things that we have to deal with, we cannot forget, amid all the noise and the turmoil of the issues, that our student athletes come first. They are the reason we're here. It's up to us to preserve and improve a model that has worked for them for over a century. The bedrock principle of that model is education. We offer educational opportunity and the opportunity to compete in athletics at the highest level in a university setting. We have no interest in professionalizing this model, and there is enormous value, incalculable value in this, and we have to guard against efforts to undermine it. We have to constantly seek to improve it, and we're doing that. We need to enhance the educational and athletic experiences of our student athletes, and we're doing that. I know all of you here share our vision and our goals. As I said, the university is in terrific hands with President Fitz and its distinguished board of trustees, with Rick and his group of coaches and student athletes who will do great things in this conference. Their achievements, because of our extraordinary TV exposure, virtually all our games are on ESPN and some are on CBS and CBS Sports Network. All of their achievements will now not go unnoticed. This is, again, extraordinary branding possibilities for this university and for this conference. We have the two networks, ESPN and CBS, that are the gold standard in college sports television. My wife Sharon, who is here with us today, and I look forward to returning for the opening of Yulman Stadium, and we look forward to many more visits to this great university and to this great city. Thank you.
All right, now we'd like to invite each of our speakers back up here, and we'll have a brief Q&A with the media. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we will get a microphone to you.
Hey, Scott.
How's it going, Rick?
It's probably warmer in Providence today, so I'm really happy to be here.
This is for anybody who'd like to take it, preferably Commissioner Aresco first. What does the ruling from the NCAA that happened last week, how does that affect the American? I know you touched on it briefly there, but how does it affect you guys as compared to where it was 2 weeks ago? Just can you go over that? And On the other hand, President Fitz, what is Tulane's commitment to sticking with whatever the American decides as far as that model?
Are you talking about the governance redesign proposal? Yes. First of all, as I said at our media day in Newport, our football media day, if we understand it properly and we deal with it properly, we don't really have anything to fear. We feel aligned with the so-called autonomous conferences. We feel that we have similar interests. We want to embrace cost of attendance. Scholarships have not kept pace over the years with the cost of attending school. We're going to do that, I believe, as a conference. We're going to probably leave it to individual schools to do some of the other things that we're talking about. Many of those things have been deregulated for some time, and you can do them anyway. We take good care of our student athletes, and we always will. There's another aspect of this redesign model that was extremely important. We wanted to make sure, and we monitored this closely for over a year and a half, to make sure that we remain competitive in this new world and in this new model. And I can assure you, and I can assure Tulane fans, alumni, supporters, we are going to be extremely competitive. Scholarship limits in football have not changed. They won't change without our consent. There's shared governance with respect to that, meaning that everyone has an equal say in the FBS room, FBS football, the 10 conferences. That was absolutely critical. That is not part of this autonomous proposal. In addition, transfer rules aren't changing for at least 2 years, and they're not likely to change. There's probably going to be a comprehensive settlement with respect to transfer rules. With scholarships and transfer rules in place as they are, we can compete with anyone. We have to be smarter. We have to use our resources in a more intelligent way. We've done that historically. It's a new world now. There are many great student athletes out there. We're in great recruiting areas. We think we're going to do fine. So we think this model will ultimately, our board seat is maintained. We think we came through it quite well. We'll have to see how it works out. We'll monitor it. We'll be very vigilant, but we think it's going to be fine for us. Oh, excuse me, Mike.
Am I good? Go ahead, Mike.
In terms of Tulane, we are absolutely committed to the American Athletic Conference, and obviously we'll follow their lead in all these matters. More generally, we're committed to our student athletes and ensuring that they have not only a great education, but a great athletic experience here.
Commissioner, a couple of things. How are financially you anticipate being able to keep up with the Power Five? And you mentioned destroy the current model. Can you kind of elaborate on what you meant by that?
Yeah, first of all, in terms of destroying the model, what we don't want is to professionalize the sports. Now, I'm not going to speak to the recent O'Bannon decision. We're not commenting publicly on that. But this is a larger issue in college athletics that I spoke to at Media Day. We want to make sure that we maintain the amateur model. We want to make sure that we aren't paying student athletes, that we don't create an employer-employee relationship, because I think that's going to be ultimately destructive to what we're trying to accomplish. How can education be the bedrock principle of your conference and your schools if, in fact, you're engaging in essentially professional athletics? That's not what our schools want to do, and we're going to fight that battle to the end. And I think ultimately we will prevail, because I think that ultimately, I think precedent is on our side. I also think that, frankly, our alumni, our fans, our supporters don't want that. In terms of the finances of our conference, first of all, our schools we're not the have-nots. I've said that before. Our schools have resources, but also our conference has resources. What people forget is we have 2 TV deals. We don't have the revenue from those TV deals that some of the other 5 conferences have, because we were in some turmoil a year and a half ago when we had to do those deals. But what we do have is we have revenue coming from schools that departed. We have revenues coming from units left behind. It almost serves as a second TV deal. We have revenue. We expect down the road to grow that revenue in many different ways. We'll be talking to our TV partners now that we've had some phenomenal success and they can see the huge potential in our conference. So I think that's going to be a factor down the road. In addition, I think you have to remember that cost of attendance it'll be expensive. It's something, though, that I think our schools have all felt is the right thing to do. Scholarships have not kept pace with the cost of going to school. But beyond that, some of the things we may or may not do, and some of those things are nuanced. You look at insurance, and we provide extremely well, as Rick and President Fitz can tell you, we provide extremely well for our student athletes in all areas. And in terms of food and other kinds of things, as George O'Leary joked at our media day, how much can the kids eat? You know, at some point, we're providing, no one's going to bed hungry, believe me. We're providing for our student athletes. We're going to continue to provide for them. Now, there's certain other things that you can now spend money on. The Autonomous Five will have their own issues, believe me, as they get into the room. And incidentally, we are knocking on that door. We want to be in that room. I think eventually we will be in that room. I think we'll be accepted eventually as the 6th Power Conference. I don't particularly like the name Power because obviously some people are sometimes excluded from that conversation, I think unfairly. I don't love the name, but as long as that name exists, we're going to be calling ourselves a Power Conference because we proved it on the court and on the field.
Having a chance to see Tulane in the physical plant today, how much did the facilities and what they've done in the last 4 or 5 years impact your decision when you were looking at Tulane? I mean, what was kind of the parameters set up for you when you wanted to pick a school, and why did Tulane get the invite?
That's a very good question. First of all, I was enamored of Tulane's history. The quality of Tulane as an academic institution, it really is one of the foremost in the country. That meant a lot to our conference. If you look at our conference with the Naval Academy, University of Tulsa, SMU, our important state schools, we are really a fine conference academically. That meant a lot. We knew that Tulane had great athletic tradition, and that was another factor. We knew that it is in a great city and a great market. But I always like to rely on the people who are there. I think you know, as Warren Buffett would say, you know, you really want to make sure that when you're dealing with another entity that you've really got great people in place. We had great people here. We knew that Scott Cowan had been a visionary and that he had, in the wake of Katrina, had made a commitment to keep athletics and build athletics into to bring athletics to a higher level. And I had known Rick Dickson for many years. You know, when Rick was at Washington State, they went to the Rose Bowl for the first time in almost a century. I knew what Rick was doing. I knew they had made a commitment. We had talked to them extensively. And obviously now with President Fitz, who's made a commitment and a recommitment to what Tulane is trying to do, I have no doubt that this is going to be a great story and they're going to be a great addition to this conference. And I believe that in a short time, when Tulane has the kind of success in our conference I think they'll have, that the major media will be writing about what Tulane has done, what they've done over the last half decade, or decade actually, and I'm going to be very proud when that day arrives, and it's going to arrive sooner than later. Thank you.
Rick, this is a question for you. With the new stipends coming or whatever that is that the Autonomous Five will be doing, do you see that as a problem for Tulane, financing that and making sure that, hey, we've got enough money to do this and bringing in other sources of revenue? Does that mean maybe going out and playing more SEC schools, you think, or Big 12 schools or whatever?
No, well, first, just to go back to the top is, along with, kind of ties it back to what Mike alluded to on all these issues. You know, for some time now, in fact, over the last year, we've been actively participating in the American Conference, and so we've collectively discussed and taken positions on this. And I would tell you unanimously, all of our schools have already voted, including Tulane, to make certain that in the event that that legislation for cost of attendance takes place, you know, we will concur with that. And I think just as, you know, one is it kind of fits into our overall outlook and objective of how our partnership with our student athletes. We've always taken it very seriously. In fact, in some of our private conversations, it almost, you know, you almost question some of the people out there saying we're now going to take care of student athletes. Where have they been? We've been doing it with less resources at a school like this and in a conference like this for decades. We take care of our kids. For, you know, those to say now because it's convenient that we're going to take better care of kids, you maybe question the motives. So, but, you know, those are things that are not inconsistent with what a lot of funding on college campuses are. There's a lot of different financial aid packages that do include the cost of attendance. So this will just bring us more in line with what is happening not only on our campus, but around the country.
Any more questions? All right, thanks. We'll have one-on-one interviews with each first speaker.
Good job, fellas.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks, Mike.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. And we'll see you tonight.
Yeah, at the Windsor Fort.
Yeah.